And so I guess the point is that these entrepreneurs, it takes them a while to find it, and they're always kind of on this struggle bus. They're always on this space where they're interested in so many different things because the brain is lit up with ideas, especially visionaries. They're lit up with new ideas and new things that it's very easy for them to create a new project and kind of dump an old one. And they still want to see the old one come to fruition, but the new one's way shinier and way more interesting. And it goes back to that process that I'm labeling. It's what interests you today is always of the highest importance to a lot of high performers and visionaries. There's also the high performers that are operational, and they struggle with new ideas. They struggle with getting out of the comfort zone, which we'll talk about later today. But, it's just, I feel like on every conversation, it's the same commonality. And that is, I really struggled because I just didn't understand that I was good at these things, or I didn't really know what I was good at. And what I was good at wasn't what I loved doing. And, these were all challenges. And then they start to find themselves, find what they're great at, and it becomes this aha moment, and they dig in. And I find that fascinating. I find it like and I think about my own kids, and I think about the conversations that we have together and how different I am in thought process. Like, I don't care if you have, I want to know that you tried, okay? I want to know that you did your best. But if the class is so boring to you and it absolutely sucks, either figure out how to get an A because there's a way, and I don't mean a negative way, I just mean figure out how to get the A because you can figure out the game that the class is playing, the teacher is playing. Like it's all just do these things and you'll get the A, even if you're not interested, because that's part of life. Or if you did your best and it just like completely numbed your soul every day, but you got a B- or you got a C+, I don't care. I just don't care. At the end of the day, there's not a single interview I've ever done. Ian, I don't remember asking you what your GPA was at Virginia Tech. Did I ask you that?
No.
Because I don't give a shit.
To be honest, I don't know it either.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And so it matters when you're in the moment. It matters when you're a kid. It matters when you're taking that SAT and you're like, oh my God, I'm so stupid compared to my friends. And yet it doesn't matter. And then you start to realize creating a mastery in something that you love and that you're great at is so much more valuable than what most people ever even do. Most people just let those scores and those directions take them on a life path. And it's not really that fun. It's a monotonous, boring life path. And they wake up 20 years later and they're like, I got to find myself. I got to do something. And I think entrepreneurs are lucky and blessed in the sense that they are kind of disheveled a little bit earlier. They are kind of not finding their spot early. And then the more they dig into it, the deeper they get, the more they become an expert in something. And all of a sudden, they wake up, they're 40 years old, and they're like the person on failure, the person on resilience, the person on leadership development in this field. And I think it's fascinating.
So there's two questions, two prongs I want to get to. Whereas we're talking about the people that you've interviewed on your podcast and the people in the Genius Network. I mean, they're very successful, but they have to have problems of some sort. And maybe it is getting to another level, or it's overwhelmed with all of the things that they're juggling. That's what I really want to get to, is what is the thing that is holding them up right now? What is keeping them stuck? And maybe they don't tell you because you're on a podcast and it's not one of those things that you really talk about. But you also know these people behind the scenes. Like, you know them when the microphone is not on. And the things that you really talk about, which maybe you don't want to talk about because the microphone is on. But that's what I really want to get to, because that's what they're going to hear.
Yeah, I think it's relationships. If you really want to know where people struggle, everybody struggles. It's not just an entrepreneur, but I would say consistently it is challenging, and a lot of the people that I talk to have had lots of broken relationships that impact their lives negatively. And they grow from it, they learn from it, they pick themselves up, they no matter how many times they get dropped, it's impactful to continue to grow. But the relationship, so what do I mean? What do I mean by relationships? I mean, when you're an entrepreneur or you're a high performer, you have a perfectly imbalanced life at all times. In order to be great at something, you're putting way too much time into something that isn't usually the relationship. It's very difficult. And then because you love what you do and you're so into it and you're so impactful and you're an expert and you're driving to success, you come into a family dynamic, a relationship with a partner or spouse, and you're just a partner or a regular human, and you're used to doing all these other things and balancing all these other things and being important to some of these people. It's and I don't mean it from an ego driven perspective. I really mean it from a truthful perspective. You're literally making decisions all the time, and then you walk into a scenario and somebody is like, now I have to make decisions where I'm the most equipped to make this decision, but maybe my partner doesn't think I should, or we don't agree on this. Think about school. Think about what I just brought up about school and a partnership. So if I am in a partnership and I found a partner who is all about education and school, and I'm the entrepreneur and we are perfectly imbalanced and we pick each other up, think about the person that's the opposite, that says they need to be making straight A's. Like, they don't need to be playing sports if they're not making straight A's. They don't need to be playing the guitar if they're not making straight A's. And the entrepreneur comes home and they're like, that doesn't matter. You don't understand. These things don't matter in life. And literally the entire life that this entrepreneur has provided for their family has been provided by this creativity and this distinction of chaos and difference than the normal society, while the other person is helping to balance that chaos. And so a lot of these relationships blow up because of it. It's a complete dissection and disintegration of their relationships. And so they coexist perfectly in the work world, and they can't exist at all in the home world. And it really does take, I think, a lot of self-awareness. You know, I was talking to a 35-year-old entrepreneur the other day, and they were like, yeah, I just feel like, I like to go to work, and I like to get up early, and I like to get my day started, and I just feel so comfortable when I've accomplished something. And then when I go home, I can be dad, and I feel like I can separate really, really well. But I just feel so comfortable at work. And then when I come home, I feel like I'm uncomfortable, and it makes it a lot harder. And I love it. Like, I'm not taking anything away from that, but it's definitely, there's an imbalance. And I said, yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like how the youth is wasted on the young. You get older, and all of a sudden, all the things that you wish you would have done when you were younger, you can literally lay them all out. I wish I would have played soccer longer. I wish I would have worked out more incessantly. Like, the discipline I have today, if I had at 22, oh my gosh. And you're thinking about these things. It's the same thing here. When you're young and you're starting your family, all you can think about is survival. All you can think about is making sure there's food on the table. All you can think about is that you need to work more to provide for this human or these humans that you love more than life itself. And everything you're doing is how you show love, and everything that's being received is the opposite. Every time you're away, you're feeling guilty, but every time you're there, you're feeling uncomfortable. This is what high performers struggle with.